Hello and welcome to the tutorial for mapping sustainable solutions. Today we're going to be looking at some of the basic concepts in geographical data and how we can apply them using QGIS. Okay, we're going to look at some of the basics of how we define geographical data by using QGIS. Now, for this session, we're going to use the data that we downloaded from Adina last time, which you should have saved as a project. So there we are, there's my one, Bradwell. And I've now downloaded the map, and it's in the same format as it was when I saved it last time. Now, some of the basics then of how we actually look at geographical data with a GIS. We talked about location. If you look down at the bottom here, you see where the mouse is at the bottom, it says coordinate, and there are two numbers which are the eastings and northings. So eastings being the east-west measurement, the X measurement if you like, so it's going along the bottom of the screen, and then the Y measurement or northing is after the comma there. So our coordinates for, let's say, this little building just over here are 601.171, 207.896. Now, we talked about the fact that there are a lot of different coordinate systems. If we want to find out what our coordinate system we're using here is, I'm going to go over to one of the files and I'm going to look at, there we are, layer CRS. CRS stands for Coordinate Reference System. And the coordinate reference system we're using there is OSGB 1936/British National Grid. So that's the standard coordinate system that we use for taking measurements of the Earth's surface within Great Britain. There we are. Right, so back to our map again. So we can see down here that we have coordinate position. So if we want to just read off a coordinate position off the screen, it's quite straightforward to do that. Similarly, just over here to the right of that, we have the scale. And the scale currently from the view that I've actually got there is 1 to 30,359. If I want to change that, I can do that to some standardized ones. So 1 to 10,000. Or even if I want to change it to something slightly more customized, let's do 1 to 12,500. So I can then change the scale very easily at that point. There we go. And you can see there is our data. There are the buildings and the roads and everything else again that we put on there last time. Now, in terms of how we can then put that onto the map so that then we have a scale that's readable for any pictures of it that we're outputting to use in a report or anything like that. Exactly the same as we did last time. We can go to Project and do a print layout. Again, you don't have to put a name in because it'll automatically generate one. And there is our print layout. I'm going to add an item, basically add a map into this. And just go and drag across our page that we've got. And there is our map. Okay, now, what I then want to do is to add in a couple more things. So I'm going to add in, first of all, a scale bar. So just an under add item, we do add scale bar. And again, it asks me where I want to put it. I can put it anywhere on the map, so I'm just going to drag in that top left-hand corner. And there we go. It's now produced us a scale bar. I can choose to elongate that a bit. Just gives a bit more space on that around there. And I can also pick that up and move it around. So I don't think it's appropriate to have it there. So what I'm going to do is shift it down here to the bottom. So we've moved our scale bar down to the bottom and I'm reasonably happy with where that is. However, if I want to change any of its appearance, over on the right hand side here, you can see that we have various options that have now come up because we've selected the scale bar. So if we have a look at this here, we can change the style. Let's have a double box. There you go, you can see it's going to change the pattern of it. Or we can use a stepped line, or any of these other particular styles, whichever one we think looks best. I'm going to have the double box one. We can also change a lot of other parameters to do with it. You can see we've got the 2 segments on there currently. We could add additional segments, or sorry, let's taken one away. Let's put another one in, depending on how many we want. We can also alter the position and size, the display. It tells us where we're putting the label placement, that kind of stuff on there. And anything else we want to do to customize the way that our scale bar looks. Now, I want to add another item here. I'm going to put a north arrow on. So add north arrow. Again, you have to drag where you want it. Little rectangle. And there we go. So we've got our north arrow there. And again, over here, you can see that we now have the option to change the way that some of this looks. And you've got a whole load of different symbols that we can put onto the map if we so choose. So for example, we can put sort of things like compass roses on, all sorts of other stuff as well. And there are our arrows. We could choose to put one with an N on it. There we go. Or we can just leave it like that if we're happy that that looks okay. So we've got our north arrow and we also have a scale bar. The final thing I'm going to add is a legend, which we did put one on I think last time just to see what it looked like. So I'm going to add a legend and I'm just going to drag that up in this corner over here. And again, over on the right hand side, we can change the properties of the legend. So you can give it a title, which I'm going to do. There we are. And we can change things like the arrangement, where the symbols are and things like that. But also, what I specifically want to do is only use items that are actually on the map. Remember, we had a lot more layers of data that we haven't used. So consequently, I'm going to tick on this one, and it now means it's only got the actual items on there that are used within the map. There we go. We can also do things like changing font and stuff like that to within there. To get back to that, all we have to do is we click on the item, and then we have all of the many different things that we can alter in terms of the appearance of the legend. Okay, and that's now ready to either go and be printed or for us to export it. So if I export that as a PDF, we'll call that Brad2 and save it. There we go. So that's added some more geographical context into our map by being able to put a scale bar, north arrow and a legend onto the map. The next thing we're going to look at is attribute data. Now, you saw before when I was trying to find out about the coordinate reference system, if I click on one of the layers down here in the layer control, right click, I can then bring up a whole series of menus to do with that particular layer. Now we can do things like look at the properties. That brings up a whole load of different tabs that give us a lot of information about the layer, but also allow us to alter a lot of things. We're going to look at this more as we go on through in some future sessions. But the other thing as well that we can do is we can open the attribute table. And there we go. That is the attribute table for the buildings layer within our map. You can see it's made up of 3 columns. There's a feature ID, which is a unique identifier for that particular feature. There's then a feature code. That basically just allows us, if we combine data from a lot of layers, to be able to say, we know that 15014 is a building polygon. We then get that description in the 3rd column, building polygon. Now having those codes and things in there would allow us, if we did have a load of different ones within there, to sort the data so that we'd then be able to make some selections within it, be able to find all of the ones that are the same or ones that fit within certain parameters. What we can also do is turn on the editing mode. So if we press the button up here, we can toggle the editing mode so we can then make changes to this data file. Now just down the end here, we have a button that's called New Field. If I click on that, we can now in effect add in an extra column or several extra columns if we like of data. So first of all, the field needs a name. So I'm going to put in size. We can then add a comment as well if you want to, don't necessarily have to. And then we can change the type of data. We've got 5 different types there. Whole numbers, so that's numbers without a decimal point. We've also got then decimal numbers and text if we just want to put in some text, or we can put in a date if we want to. Now I'm going to put in a decimal number, and we then have a couple more things we need to put in. One of them is the length of the field. Now basically that means how many characters do we think we're going to need to type in. It's generally better to have a few more in that than you actually need, but I think 10 will be fine for us for the moment. Precision, that's the maximum number of digits after decimal place. Okay, so I'm just going to click OK, and you can see that we now have a new column within our attributes. So what we could then do, if we got some data, say, on the actual size of each of the buildings, we could then add that data in. And so on, until we had a complete set of attribute data for that particular set of data. So that would then allow us, once we got that, to then sort the buildings by size and to then be able to do analysis whereby we could just select just buildings of a certain size. Once we've made some changes to the attribute table, what we then need to do is click on the Save button up here, and that then makes our changes permanent. One more thing we can do with this is if we've got a particular building within the attribute table that we're interested in finding, let's say number 12 here. There we go. And we've selected it, selected the row. If we go to zoom map to selected rows, you can then see that the GIS has zoomed in and selected that particular building within the data set. Let's just get the attribute table back up again. what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make it so we can see both at the same time. I'll select another one. There we are, it's deselected that particular one. Zoom map to selected rows. And there we are. It's zoomed in to a different building this time. So if we look at more of the data set, we've zoomed out a little bit here. We'll get the attribute table open again. What we have to remember is the data that we look at here in the attribute table is the same as the geospatial elements that we're looking at actually on the map. You can see when I select one of the buildings, there we go, up towards the top there, it selects both in the attribute table and actually within the map. The data is the same, just in a different format. Okay, so let's review our learning outcomes. You should by now have gained an understanding of how location is defined by a coordinate system. We also talked about how different coordinate systems worked and latitude and longitude. We've also looked at scale and how we can add a scale bar to your map in QGIS. We've also talked a bit about how orientation affects the display of data and looked at how a north arrow can be put onto your data in order to make sure that we are certain of which way our map is orientated. We then spent a bit of time gaining an understanding of attribute data, and you've looked at how we can alter the attribute table within QGIS, and you've also looked at how the data in the attribute table actually relates directly to the mapped data.